All right, it is 6:34. Call the meeting of the Planning Board of Town of Webster to order. Um, I think, is it okay, would it be okay if we just jump to Gabrielle so that she can? Is that okay with the board? Yep. Okay. So Gabrielle, we're gonna jump right to you, so you're up.
All right, I'm gonna who are listening in who aren't familiar with the hazard mitigation plan. But I did want to take a moment just to thank the core team whose names are listed here, who I've been working with over the past 9 months or so. We've met, if not every month, every other month, to get this plan updated in fairly short order. And this is the last public meeting that we'll be holding prior to having the plan go out for a 30-day public comment period. So what we just are going to do today, we're just going to refresh a little bit about why we're doing this, what the requirements for doing a hazard mitigation plan are, and how that aligns with the contract that the town of Webster has. We're going to present some of the highlights of the mitigation strategy, which are the actions that are identified and how they are ranked. And then we'll just refresh you guys with the review process, which does involve the planning board making the final decision to send this plan off to the state agency for them to start the review process. So just a little bit of background. The Hazard Mitigation Assistance Program comes from the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000, and there is very specific requirements that have to go into preparing a hazard mitigation plan. The plan has to be updated every 5 years, and when a plan is approved for a community, it opens the door for funding, both from federal and state funding, and as well as many, many other grant programs. One important requirement is that each state hazard mitigation plan has to be consistent with its own state hazard mitigation plan. So we're fortunate in 2023, the Commonwealth updated its state hazard mitigation plan in conjunction with a climate adaptation plan. And we're able to take a lot of the information and use that in Webster's plan. Some of the differences from what the hazard mitigation plan process was that Webster went through in 2018 is this plan is required to reach out to specifically climate vulnerable populations and take their needs into consideration. It definitely incorporates climate change in a very meaningful way. And it expands on the traditional look of hazard mitigation around critical infrastructure to also include environmental concerns, societal concerns, economic concerns. Built infrastructure, the critical facilities is kind of what traditionally people think about when they think of hazard mitigation plans, but it is much broader. The plan also asks communities to very carefully craft problem statements for each defined mitigation action. So there's a very clear link from the natural hazard risk to how an action is going to mitigate that risk. So these things are all have been worked into the new plan. And just a refresher about why we're doing this plan. The town has many existing emergency management capabilities, and the plan builds on those, explains them, and it does in such a way that we're trying to be thinking about more frequent and intense weather events. We're trying to think about multiple stakeholders that are involved in this. And the bottom line is to craft a plan that will enable actions to be funded. So kind of 6 basic steps we go through. Our core team is a great representation of all of the departments and staff in town that are working on different capacities of hazard mitigation plans. We go through a fairly detailed evaluation assessment of the natural hazard risks, the community assets that now are important as to the town in those 4 categories I mentioned: societal, economic, environmental, and infrastructure. We do a detailed multi-hazard vulnerability assessment, really focusing in on hurricane, earthquake, and flooding, and I'll explain why later. We go back and review the capabilities of the town to mitigate hazards and how those have changed since 2018, and then develop mitigation actions based on what was accomplished in 2018 and what the new priorities are. So we've held a public meeting mid-year on the hazard mitigation plan. We've finalized the hazard mitigation report, and now this is the public meeting on tomorrow, or as soon as Jeff gives me the plan back, I will send this to Anne, who's going to post the plan up on the town website and start a 30-day public comment period. The plan basically has 10 chapters. It's fairly prescribed. We're following FEMA guidelines, which are asking certain questions, and we have to answer in each one of these categories in order to get approval. We also have to do certain things like survey. And this is a result of the survey, which we did in the beginning of the process, not just asking the core team what they thought about top natural hazards and which assets were most impacted, but also asking the public as well. Unfortunately, we just did have 32 responses, and based on those, they did fairly closely mirror what the core team picked as their top priorities, being on nor'easters, extreme temperatures, thunderstorms, and high winds. The community asset categories I mentioned before, these 4 categories, Webster identified about 100 assets, and they were quite different from the assets that they had before, which were important to the character and function of the town. Our vulnerability assessment, we are looking at town-wide, all parcels, based on an exposure assessment for flood risk. And then we zoom in and we look at vulnerability of those approximate 100 specific assets. We also use FEMA modeling for the hurricanes and earthquakes, and we use FEMA flood data for flooding, and then looking at vulnerability of future development as well. So just a couple of statistics, which I do find kind of interesting, is just for hurricane, with the hazards model, did this modeling on about 3,000 buildings, and looking at a 100-year hurricane, there'd be about $21 million in damages, 8 households displaced, and 4 people seeking shelter. This doesn't seem too bad. Comparing with a magnitude 5.0 earthquake, about the same number of buildings were analyzed. And in this case, we had about $224 million in damages, 48 households displaced, and 19 people seeking shelter. Our FEMA analysis for flooding showed that out of about 5,700 developed parcels in Webster, about 17% of those are located in the floodplain. And based on assessed building values, about $330 million in damages might occur in a worst case flood scenario. So that, that just kind of goes from hurricanes up to flooding in terms of loss. Lots more statistics in the report. The other thing I mentioned, climate vulnerable population engagement is a big requirement in the new plan. FEMA's really looking to for the communities to really reach out to promote meaningful engagement from a much broader range of stakeholders than just town staff. And so what we did is we set up a focus group, and we looked to find folks who were working with elder population, at-risk populations, and had a very interesting conversation with them about what some of the needs were, and what some possible things that the town could do to help craft projects to support these individuals. Again, there is more information about that in the report, and we're reaching out again to those folks to have their input into the final plan. I'm just jumping ahead with a mitigation strategy, which is really what thing I wanted to focus most on. We crafted a resiliency vision for Webster as our mission statement to guide both creating our goals and objectives for mitigation action, and then to make sure that all actions were compliant with that vision. So the method we used is we looked back at the previous mitigation actions that were done. Found out, there was only a handful that had been completed, but most of the mitigation actions in the past really were existing capabilities, and there was only a few that we carried over to 2024. We then consulted with different departments to come up with new strategies, and then ran this through a prioritization to come up with a ranking of high, medium, and low projects. So all these different types of actions generally fall in one of 6 categories. We do this because these are the categories that directly get funded by FEMA. These are the type of projects which are included in the types of grants which say, oh, you guys have a hazard mitigation plan, this project is on it, we're going to give you 20 extra points when we review your grant application because you vetted these projects with the community. And so the types of projects here, range from prevention like building codes, regulations, property protection is, for example, elevation of a structure to protect it from flooding, different types of structural retrofits. Publication and education is pretty straightforward. where we're taking actions to inform and educate citizens about potential risks from hazards and how to mitigate them, outreach projects, school and self-education, natural resource protection and green infrastructure are actions that, in addition to minimizing hazard losses, would both preserve or restore functions of the natural ecosystem. And the whole genre of low impact development techniques and tools are very good examples of green infrastructure in the hazard mitigation world. Structural projects, those are the ones you're very familiar with, stormwater control, retaining walls, flood walls, and so on and so forth. Generators as well, and emergency service protection or any type of action that protects emergency services during, before, and after an event. So thanks for letting me go through that list. So the prioritization method we use is a method created by FEMA. It's called the Stapley method, where we evaluate 7 different criteria for each mitigation action. And these are each evaluated both for the pros and the cons. So the benefits that a project would have on the social, technical, administrative, political, legal, economic, and environmental, as well as the costs. So it is a type of benefit cost analysis. And Joey and Ann took the lead on this, and they reviewed about 30 projects. And then once they did their initial ranking, sent it to the core team for any further comments, and everyone was very pleased with the work they did. And how this resulted in is, I should have counted that, 2, 4, 6, 8, 7, 12, about a dozen high priority mitigation actions came out of this, which will be accomplished, any time in the next 5 years. A few of them are looking at, right away. The Code Red program, there was quite a bit of interest in doing some upgrades with that. I mean, people felt it was good, but it had some opportunities for improvements. And then an evaluation of evacuation protocols during extreme events. So those are the 2 that jumped out to get started out right away. And I'm not going to read this list here. You can read a lot more about it in the report, and you can, again, for each of these projects, there's a very clear summary of what the issues were, what the problems are, and then how each one of these projects is going to be the solution. And then medium, and I say lower priority projects, because none of these projects are bad or worse, but they do require a ranking. So we just say, lower priority. They're all a priority, but we do have to handle it that way. Sometimes projects end up being in the lower the priority because they're more expensive, because they take longer to implement, or sometimes because there are in environmental regulations, there's permitting involved in it. So we recognize that that's not necessarily, it's a bad thing, but it ends up affecting the numbers. And I will also say that the hazard mitigation plan, it's meant to be reviewed every year, and as a project should change in priority, it's a very, very simple process to go back, revisit the Stapley, redo the prioritization, and then post this as an update to the plan. So where we're at right now in these final steps of the review process is we're right here where we're having the public review. I mentioned it's a 30-day process, at which time we will incorporate any changes or edits into the final plan, and then we'll come back to you for you to vote to approve to send this forward to MEMA to start the state and federal review process. That federal review process, the state and federal review process probably is 2 to 4 months. With the holidays, that might be even a little bit optimistic, but when FEMA is finally done, they'll send a note to Webster who says you must now vote to adopt the plan. You'll send your certification back to FEMA, and then FEMA will issue the final approval. Again, I just wanted to throw up this slide. We're doing this because the more we can mitigate hazards, the more we can save in future costs. So it is a very economically sound thing to have the plan. And we're very also fortunate that there are a lot of funding sources out there, as I mentioned, who will be very happy to evaluate the different actions and help get funds directed to Webster. Again, I'm not going to read these. These are the state, typical state ones. And here are some well-known and some less well-known federal sources. Call attention to the Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Central Program, which is a brand new, multi-million dollar EPA project, which funds were given to the University of Connecticut to assist communities in Massachusetts, providing them technical assistance to identify actions and funding for climate vulnerable populations. So just what FEMA was asking for. So we're very excited to learn more about that and see if we can't get Webster lined up to get assistance through this program. And that is it. And I probably went over my time, but I appreciate it. And if there's any questions.
Anyone, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I noticed that you had hurricane dash high winds. I don't know if we've ever had a hurricane here. I know that we've had tornadoes. Would that cover tornadoes as well?
Yes, yes. The way we, hold on just a second. Let's see if this works. Oh yeah, that's better. Did I stop sharing, by the way?
Yes.
No, I did? I stopped sharing?
Yes.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure if I had. So the way the high winds are categorized in the hazard mitigation plan as they're categorized as an atmospheric hazard, severe storms. And severe storms include nor'easter, hurricane, tornado. All of the high wind events are all included together. So good question. Things get broken out for different reasons, and then they kind of get put back together. But our high wind events are considered as a group severe storms.
So this is a year-long project. How much does it cost the town for your services in tie-in bonds?
Oh, that's a good question. I believe I had that information in right here in those two. I believe the cost of that project was let me see, $29,000 FEMA grant was given to the community, and that is what the cost to the town has been. And it can go longer than a year for a number of reasons. We were very interested in getting the process expedited so that the plan had expired, and we wanted to make sure that the town didn't lose opportunities for applying for grants and you aren't eligible with an expired plan.
Say, for example, like we had a lot of devastation in the town of Webster. Would you be a go-between between the town of Webster and FEMA? No.
I have certainly can offer services. Typically, the way that the go-between is through MEMA. So MEMA is kind of the agent for FEMA for all communities. So applying for public aid, applying for hazard mitigation grants, FERC grants, it happens through the state Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency.
Do we get any funding during the course of the year from either federal or state sources for different projects that are going on?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Mike, the town is frequently applying for different grants for different projects. A lot of times, some of those will come specifically through highway.
Okay.
So yeah, we're always on the lookout for funding.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else, any questions? In that case, I guess you did a great job, Gabrielle, because that was it for questions.
Yay, great. Well, we hope that you'll read the plan. And so when it goes up, everyone's going to get notified as to the link. It's only 150 pages of text, and skip the appendices. Don't read those. But it's got a lot of pretty pictures in it too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, have a good night.
Good night.
We have no action, right? No. Okay.
So I will post that to the website and send out a blast through our social media to let people know it's available, and reach out to certain organizations to have them share the link, like the Webster Lake Association.
Okay. All right, I'd like to jump down and just kind of get through some of the real work here. Acceptance of the Gladys Kelly Library as-built plan.
Yes, Chuck has worked very hard to get those last final items to be completed. They are now complete, and all it requires now is a vote of the board to accept the as-built.
All right, everything's all set, Chuck? Any other questions with it, or?
Nope, nope.
Okay.
Got everything squared away.
In that case, I'll entertain a motion to accept the Gladys E. Kelly Library 2 Lake Street as-built plan.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So just for clarification, 300R is going to be brought to the next meeting because the decision hasn't been drafted or completed yet? Is that correct? That's correct. So we'll go to the draft decision for 0 Rosemont, which everybody has a copy in front of them.
Correct, and I did post it to the website. Just pull it up. As you know, we were, staff has been conferring with, as you know, staff has been conferring with town council, and we did confer on the decision. So I was provided with some guidance on how to draft it. So where is it? Is that at the beginning? Draft decision. Okay, so before you get started, we're going to need Dan. All right. Do I take a break?
Yeah, just for 2 seconds.
Okay. No more, yeah, that we're done. Thank you. Does everybody know Brendan?
I've seen him a lot of times.
Yes. He's in the IT department, and he's very knowledgeable. We're very thankful he's here.
That's a good thing.
It is.
Everything worked tonight, that's amazing.
Yeah.
See, most people would do that.
And it was all fancy and
Yeah. No, I thought he was trying to, I thought he had some.
You sit there, Santa?
All right, Ann, you're back.
And we're back. Before you get started, the eligible members to vote on this are Kathy, Mike, Paul, Dan, and Christopher Fowler was appointed as a voting member when Mike opened up the hearing. And Paul, you did a Mullen certification, which makes you eligible. So you have 5 voting members. The draft decision includes language about the special permit for the lake watershed protection as well as the site plan. It's one singular decision for the entire project. For the benefit of the audience, we'll just go through things highlighted in yellow. This will be fixed to represent Christopher here. That'll be an edit. The background is the procedural background, when things came in, when you had meetings, all that good stuff. The exhibits are a list of documentation that was submitted during the course of the hearing. I think there are close to 70, all the documentation, 63 total. And we use this documentation to refer back to various findings of fact. Findings of fact talk about, in the beginning, this is, the fact that the documents that are submitted, that's what you're making your determination on, and any public testimony received during the hearing. 2 applications for 2 permits, site plan and the special permit for lake watershed protection. Then the waivers that were requested. The submitted site plan indicates that there would be parking in the front yard setback, which is not allowed in accordance with the zoning bylaw. No waiver request for this was submitted for this component. And you wouldn't be able to take action on it anyway because that particular bylaw does not allow a waiver. Half an acre, single-family residential, lake watershed protection district. Proposing to cover the lot with more than 40% of impervious material, which would be pavement structure. And during the course of the hearing, more than 70% of the ground cover was disturbed, which is a violation of the Lake Watershed Protection District. There's more on that later on. Then you discussed the project. This was the information that was presented by the applicant to the board. This comes right from the meeting minutes. Then you discussed the waivers and talked about, the zero parking lot landscaping and trees. The waiver requests were specifically for criteria that is in the site plan review ordinance. So that's specific to the waivers, or is for that. Then you discussed the capacity of the building, the number of people, the number of beds, the number of parking spaces, the use, the number of functions, those kinds of things. So there was conversation at a couple of meetings about the number of people we're talking about being on site, either in parking or for activities. And then these next handful of findings are cataloging department comments, which is in the documentation. It gets into it. The fire department had comments. You can see this, the health department, a number of comments here were submitted by boards. The assessor had no comment, and the applicant did submit two different response to comments, so people can go through it. Everything's cataloged chronologically, so you can follow along through the exhibits. F-17 gets into the discussion about the lake watershed protection, 70% ground cover disturbance, and the applicant was ordered to clean up the site and put up erosion controls until the permitting process was complete. At the close of the hearing, the site was not in compliance. Then this next few findings catalog through the meeting minutes, verbal testimony given to you by people who had come to the hearing. Several of these folks had submitted exhibits, so if you want to go back and read more, you have the exhibit reference there too. So you had quite a few comments from public. And then we get into, and these are all done chronologically, this was the material that came out of the discussion you had with Town Council Matt Provencher, when he was talking to you, when you were asking questions about the Dover Amendment and, you know, the application and what the board's scope is here. And then we had comments during that process from the attorney representing the abutters and his thoughts on some of the material that was submitted. 3 peer review letters were submitted. The final peer review letter, number 49, identified 35 outstanding issues relating to the site plan review criteria that still needed to be addressed. F-27 gets into the discovery of the fraudulent engineering stamp. The number of documents he submitted with fraudulent stamp as well as a fraudulent signature were a total of 10. The chairman had asked the applicant to speak on the fraud allegations, and that was his response, that the plans were just submitted. He had brought in some plans that night, which were architectural. He didn't know about the fraudulent signature or stamp and needs to investigate the matter further. And then there was one last comment from Attorney Adamopoulos about the impacts of the fraudulent plan on these proceedings. So that is the outline of things that were discussed, things that were submitted. And based on advice from council, I crafted 3 specific findings that you will use to make a decision. The first one is the board finds that the applicant submitted multiple documents with a forged signature and fraudulent professional engineering stamp. See finding 27. The board finds that the site plan application is not properly before the board and is in violation of the town's site plan review regulations, 650, 55B, which state, and you can see it there, that your requirement is a Massachusetts registered professional architect, landscape architect, or registered professional engineer. And then the third specific finding is that the special permit application for the Lake Watershed Protection District is not properly before the board. The applicant submitted fraudulent stormwater documentation and stormwater system design elements on the site plan. So those are the 3 findings that I crafted upon advice from council. And then you get into the decision, and you would have to make 2, one specifically about the site plan, and then one about the special permit. And then last but not least, authorization for staff to sign.
I'm assuming that we can take findings of fact 1 through 28 as a group,
Oh, yeah.
if that's okay with the board, unless somebody has some questions or wants to go through specific findings of fact. They are in fact findings of fact, so. Is that okay with everyone? Then I will entertain a motion to accept finding of fact F1 through F28.
I'll make that motion.
Was that F28?
F28.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
F1 to F28.
F1 to F28, okay.
Dan made that motion.
Thanks, Dan.
A second.
Okay, and we have a second, Chris? Is there any other discussion regarding these findings? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving to the specific findings.
Yeah, you can, at any time, specifically with the specific findings, you can add language, you can edit, do whatever you feel is necessary.
You want an individual vote on each one?
It's probably a good idea to do it an individual vote, yeah.
I would think. So I would be looking for a motion to accept specific finding F29 individually, unless, well, we can have discussion on it after we have a motion to approve. To accept, I should say.
I'll make a motion to
Accept
accept
finding
finding F29.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or changes that anybody wants to make to F29?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Same routine for F30.
I'll make a motion to accept F30.
We have a motion and a second. Mike made the second here. Any other discussion regarding F30? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving to specific finding F31.
I'll make a motion to accept F31.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion regarding F30 finding? Yeah, specific finding F31. No? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Now, with the motions, you always have to have the motion, the affirmative, and if you don't want to approve it, then you say no.
Right. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the site plan with conditions. Yes. So I need a motion to approve, and then you can vote to the affirmative or negative as you desire.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
the decision.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion regarding the approval of the site plan with conditions?
And I would recommend by roll call
We'll
vote.
do a roll call vote for this one, just to be sure. Do you want to call the roll?
I can call the roll.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Fowler,
No.
Mr. Moran,
No.
Mr. Dossler,
No.
Ms. Cody,
No.
and Mr. LaFramboise.
No.
Okay.
Now moving on to the special permit. I need a motion to approve the special permit with conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion regarding this one? Then we'll do another roll call.
Okay, Mr. Fowler,
No.
Mr. Moran,
No.
Mr. Dossler,
No.
Ms. Cody,
No.
Mr. LaFramboise.
No.
And last but not least,
A motion to approve Ann Morgan to sign our decision.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this is really well done. I know you had some help with the attorneys, but still,
yeah,
we understand how much work it is.
Nice job.
thank you. Being an ex-English major helped.
I'm sorry?
Being an ex-English major helped.
Yes, I'm sure it does.
Okay.
Now we're going to open public hearings. The first one is 310 Thompson Road. You can.
I don't understand anything that you won't get up there. Did you accept projections? Did
Okay. Oh, the voting was to not approve the project. Okay. It,
Correct.
it was denied, it was denied.
Just flat out, it's denied with
More
prejudice.
questions.
Yeah,
Please
with,
come up if you're going to talk into them.
I had a question on the same project really quick. Janet Rocky, 256 Thompson Road, I'm not on the letter, but I just had a question. What exactly, like, because I've seen other things be danced around with, the fraudulent aspect of things in this project.
yes.
I'm curious as to why it can't just be like shut down completely. Like, I know you guys are kind of, above the other commissions and boards when it comes to planning. But I can't really shut it down.
Unfortunately, we kind of, with any municipality, you have to dot your i's and cross your t's, and it's taking a while to get through the legal processes of doing that. So I think, yes. Mhm. So it's essentially over unless somebody came in and reapplied for that particular.
But they have the right, don't they have the right to do that?
They could reapply with another application at some point if they
Is there a
so
time
choose.
frame, or is it like
No, because this
they can
one's,
do it, they can do it tomorrow, they can do it anytime?
yes.
Okay.
Hmm?
I was just curious. Is there any way to shut that down, or is that illegality thing again?
Again, this particular project was fraught with problems from the beginning, so
Yeah.
I think we'll just leave it there.
All right.
Okay? You're welcome. I can't comment on it, I'm sorry. Have a great evening, though. Okay. 310 Thompson Road.
Something I need to read, and should I read my?
Oh, yes, I gave you a public hearing notice.
In accordance with the Town of Webster zoning bylaw, section 570-6, the Webster Planning Board will hold a public meeting on a stormwater permit application submitted by Eli Realty, 210 Stowe Road, Marlborough, Mass., and 310 Thompson Road LLC, 23 Newell Drive, Franklin, Mass., owners, pertaining to the construction of a new multifamily building, excuse me, on an existing non-conforming structures. Excuse me, 310 Thompson, accessor ID. Oh, hold on.
They're coming to get you.
Yeah. Accessor ID 24-G, -9-0. The sites are located within the following zoning districts. Business B5, agricultural, single-family residential, ASFR, and Lake Watershed Protection, LPW.
Okay. The floor is yours. Introduce yourself, please.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Balsavich. I'm here on behalf of Land Planning, Inc., representing the two property owners as well as the applicant, LBC Construction. As summarized, the proposal is before this board with a stormwater management permit to complete the construction of the multifamily dwelling located on the project site, 310 Thompson Road. The site is shown on the first sheet, including the existing foundation. Since the original construction, the complete construction of this building has been left kind of dormant, and they haven't constructed the superstructure on the foundation existing on the property. Since the original construction, the tree line has been expanded to encapsulate the foundation as indicated on the plans. This revegetation process has taken place over 30 plus years. The application is for, as stated, a stormwater management permit. The proposal is to basically mitigate the roof area and additional impervious by removing gravel area located as indicated. The gravel area will be revegetated with loam and seed. The gravel area will be removed and trucked off-site. If there are any additional questions regarding, I'd be happy to address them.
Okay, Chuck?
We did have a couple of generally technical comments. I can run through them if you'd like. I provided a template for the illicit discharge statement. So typically, a lot of the projects that we get are new buildings. And with those buildings, they need to meet building code, current building code as they're constructed and they're inspected by the building commissioner. So the illicit discharges in those cases are very rare. In this case, you have a lot of existing buildings, including the newly proposed building. So we need to have a little bit more information as far as inspection for possible illicit discharges, especially from the existing structures that are on site. As typical with the planning board projects, the long-term operation and maintenance plan needs to be recorded in the deeds. The drainage calculations for the crushed stone gravel area, those need to be tweaked a little bit because they're currently modeled as if it were essentially paved. The gravel area is primarily consisting of crushed stone. It doesn't appear to be compacted. There's grass growing on it, that sort of thing. So it should be modeled a little bit differently. Similarly, with the time of concentration for the overland flow going over the gravel area, that should be modeled more as a grassed area as opposed to a paved area. And then the existing foundation has no outlet for stormwater runoff to discharge from the foundation per se. So that should really be modeled with a zero curb runoff number. They need to show the anti-tracking pad, and there's no, so this is obviously an existing development where they're looking to add the final building. And there's no current stormwater management or treatment on site as far as I could tell. So I didn't know if that was anything that the board wanted to discuss. There is no,
But all that stormwater goes directly into that catch basin that goes across the street, directly into the lake.
You said that.
does it, or does it flow away from the lake?
I don't know.
Okay, so the information I had, it was showing it going away from the lake, so that it's not within the lake watershed protection zone.
If I may, would the board prefer me to address and kind of elaborate? So at the beginning of the project, one of the first steps was identifying where the underground utilities were. This being a commercial site, it was assumed that stormwater management would be required. Through research with the town and by DigSafe, very limited information exists on underground utilities for the project. The initial construction, I believe, for these buildings occurred back in the 70s, which predated the stormwater management requirements of the Wetland Protection Act. Currently, there are various inlets and catch basins located on site. To our knowledge and through the limited information, they are all connected and discharge at 2 locations on the property. The first is located to the, southeast of the existing foundation. You will see there's a note that there's an existing 12-inch PVC outlet. Additionally, there is a outlet to the north, I believe it's building number 4, there is an outlet discharge point.
Hold on. You're not all the way to the bottom, man.
It's before Montgomery.
You're not all the way to the bottom. Are you?
Yeah, but isn't it before?
Oh, it's right there though, isn't it? Remember the purple and the white meat?
The purple, yeah, the purple line here is the lake watershed. This is the lot right here.
Yeah.
This little slice of the lot is inside the district, and the majority of the is outside of it, but I think Chuck has a specific, isn't there a specific reference? No, okay. I'm thinking about a different project, never mind.
Okay, so when I did a site walk, all of this water, if I can
Yeah.
contaminate your mouse here for a second. So the building development is approximately this location here. And it looked like the runoff from the overall site and drainage on site went into this tributary stream here and came out this way, away from the lake.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, inevitably exit the site through the perennial river as documented on this plan. So all the drainage from the site either enters the catch basin facility or enters the bordering vegetated wetland, the south, which would then enter the river, and then I believe it crosses the boundary onto 300R Thompson Road.
Okay.
Okay. To continue, the first response for the illicit discharge, the site was inspected for illicit discharges through visual inspection. Land Planning Inc. conducted the ground survey several months ago and did the flagging of the resource area and located any discharge point and further documented structures that drain the stormwater runoff to these areas. So visual inspection was the principal means of inspecting the site for illicit discharges. The outlets themselves were inspected and no scouring was observed at those points. In regards to the long-term operation and maintenance plan, we can instruct the applicant to inform the owners, property owners, to have their legal representative draft a document that can be recorded for the property.
Okay.
We would recommend they put a condition in the approval that it references the operation and maintenance plan as documented in the stormwater report itself. Regarding the comment 3 and 4, further investigation will need to be conducted on site. As stated several months ago, the field survey was conducted and there was very little grass growing within the area. However, it was observed that the area is stable and compacted enough to facilitate vehicles driving on it. There were several pieces of trailers. There's a boat, there's storage unit. So various, large vehicles have been driving over this area and able to drop these areas, boat or storage units. Again, I'm going to have to take a look and get back to the board regarding these comments. I believe the next is the hydrologic connection for the area within the foundation. Currently, there may not be or has not observed any orifices for stormwater to discharge through the foundation wall. However, there is a hydraulic connection through the ground because there is no slab poured yet within the foundation. It's currently just
a foundation.
Yeah, just the foundation, and I assume the footing. Again, I think during the building inspection phase, they may require inspection of the foundation. So, but they are connected. There is no slab, so any stormwater that falls within it will be connected through recharge. Next is in regards to the stormwater treatment. As this foundation already exists and does take place on a previously developed site, the application and as documented in the drainage report is filing as a redevelopment. In accordance with that section of the stormwater management standards, we are required to comply with, I believe it is standard 1, 8, 9, and 10, and standards 2, 3, and 4 to the maximum extent practicable. We have supplied, per the stormwater management standards, the redevelopment checklist that documents the means that we went for, in this case, illicit discharge, TSS removal, and recharge for stormwater BMPs.
Okay. So you're looking to come back after you answer the questions next time?
Yes, I will plan, as this report was submitted with less than a week for me to actually conduct something and get it back to you, I just
Okay,
quickly reviewed it. I will be
Oh, that's
submitting a
fine.
formal letter.
okay, so we'd be looking for a motion to continue this public hearing to the next meeting, giving the applicant a time to review those documents or review the answer, get some answers for us. When you reviewed it, Chuck, did you look at that, where the drains come down Thompson Road into that wetland area before the sewer pump station, and then it cuts through that property? Should that area be identified and cleaned up as part of this project? Since if the water's going that way, and we're gonna be adding more to it by putting the actual building up, we should identify the whole flow from that side of the road if it is actually going that way, no? I'm asking a question because I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's shown that way on the overlay, because it's basically meant that that border follows the crown of the road in the center of the road, so the road pitches to one side and the other side, and so this
So
side. the
drainage
lake
opens
goes
up
away.
right there, just past the driveway, into that open area, and then it kind of, that's what forms the stream, right?
That's what it looks like. I mean, I'll stop by there again.
Okay.
But
But yeah, take a look at that where it starts at the street,
What's that?
that stream, to make sure that, because you're gonna be adding more water to the stream, is it gonna make a difference back to the street?
As documented in the report, we are actually not increasing runoff to this vegetated wetland. As the report stands right now, I do need to relook
Well, I don't
at
believe
3
it
and
then,
4.
because if you're putting a roof up, you're gonna change it, right? It's gonna add water to the stream.
But we are substituting adding roof by removing the compacted gravel surface. So is offset.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion to continue to the next meeting?
I'll make that motion, continue to the next meeting.
Okay.
310 Thompson Road.
310, Thompson.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Anybody? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Steve, see you
All right.
next time.
Thank you.
31 Ray Street is going to be continued, I assume, Ann?
Yep, they've requested a continuance, so all you need to do is vote to do that.
Okay, then we're on 137 East Main Street.
Now you have to make a vote to continue. 31 Ray Street. They've
Oh, now you're getting
requested-
pushy. Okay,
I'll make the motion to continue 31 Ray Street.
okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, now we're at 137 East Main Street.
In accordance with the provisions of the Webster zoning bylaw, section 650-38, the Webster Planning Board will hold a public meeting on a modification of site plan approval application for a gasoline service station with a convenience store and a car wash at property located at 137 East Main Street. Assessor ID 24-F-11-12_0. The application was submitted by Nuria Energy Corporation, 326 Clark Street, Worcester, Mass. 01606 applicant, and PMG Northeast LLC owner, 2900 Telstar Court, Falls Church, Virginia, 22042. Said site is located in a business with sewer B4 zoning district.
Okay, you're up.
All right, good evening. My name is Michael Chiverton. I am with Naria. I'm here to present really 3 modifications to our approved site plan. These are modifications that I'll just generalize. We've completed 11 sites this year, similar to this Webster project that we're doing. And over that course, we have defined some of what we're considering our site standards, and that includes outdoor seating, are the EV chargers that we've been installing at our other locations that we would also like to put here. And one of the last ones is more of a request, is just the trash enclosure material. So what I'll do is talk about each one of them, individually, starting off with the EV charger locations. So the EV chargers, we had shown on the original plan that was approved. These spaces were shown in the front right corner of the building in front of 2 parking spaces. At the time, we did not have the actual EV charger itself picked out. And we've come to find that the EV charger location that we originally proposed is not a viable option, because these cars sit there for 20 to 30 minutes getting a charge, and we did not want to take up the front parking spots in front of the store. So we proposed to move the EV charger locations to I believe it's a northeast property where we originally had 2 parallel parking spots, in order to make the EV chargers functional, so the cords of the EV chargers can reach where they need to plug into the cars. We changed those parking spaces to head-in stalls. And I know that Chuck had some comments on these, so I don't know if I'll just stay on the EV chargers for now and answer his comments.
Okay, Chuck?
Sure. So one thing you might notice is the parking spots are much larger than the standard parking spots, and that is the national standard or what have you for electric charging, that they're a little larger with the crosshatch loading area or what have you. So in order to fit these in here, they have moved those parking spaces closer to the property line. And if you remember, in the original approval, there's an encroachment there. So the restaurant next door has their parking lot partially on the property. So there was a waiver granted for the 5-foot landscaped buffer there. So you're basically, these parking spaces are now getting 8 feet closer to that curb line than what you had previously. These parking spaces are oriented 90 degrees. The previous parking spaces were parallel. And one of the concerns that we have is, previously there were parallel spaces. The cars would not necessarily be backing out perpendicular to oncoming traffic. Here you are backing right out into traffic, people coming in around the corner from Route 12, entering the station. So it's a concern. I don't know if it's, no, you can't do that. It's just kind of a concern. It's a little bit different traffic pattern than what you had originally approved.
Yeah, and it gets a little tighter going into that drive-through, right? Okay.
Yeah, and so that lane really is just for the car wash in the back of the building only. And these head-in parking stalls did shift back much further than the parallel spots that are much longer. So we did get them as far back on the property as we could away from that entrance to avoid any congestion. And I feel that a lot of the customers that are going to be coming in off Worcester Road are going to be traveling to the pumps or to the front of the store. And I don't feel as if it would cause that much congestion with the head in, which is what's preferred for these electric vehicle chargers compared to the parallel spots, which is really, we did take a look at trying to use the parallel spots, but it just wasn't feasible with the chargers.
Why do they head in? Is it the chargers in the back of the car?
It actually varies from, I think Tesla, I'm sorry, the Nissan Leaf has the charger in the back, and so it varies. So the way we set up the chargers to be on the side is you can actually do head in or back into the spot.
Back in would be better
Mhm.
to get out.
Right.
Okay,
So where is the entrance from Worcester Road going?
Right there.
In relation to that?
see the arrow moving?
Yep.
Right
Well,
there.
The other good thing is electric cars, most of them have backup cameras, which would warn people,
They
but
have backup alarms.
yeah, but still, people coming in pretty quick sometimes, right?
That would be my, Chuck made a valid point, people coming in off of Route 12 and
Yeah.
just running to the
Yeah,
back
they're
there,
running right in.
or running into the
And you don't
store.
see
You're
them
gonna be
until they're
coming in
already
quick.
in the driveway, yeah.
It's already so congested in that area.
It's a tough one. A speed bump there or something.
So the entrance to the car wash, now you have coffee lines behind there as well?
No, just car wash, no drive-through,
Okay.
Oh, there's no drive-through.
no drive-through.
I thought they're gonna have drive-through on the other side there. The driveway that's there.
So they're going to be driving into that entrance and heading straight to the back for the car wash?
Yep.
And then, or to the parking spots for the store itself?
Right, that's a bypass lane, so like if the wait's too long for the car wash, people can actually get out of line and leave as opposed to being kind of stuck there behind the building until the line moves.
So there's no drive-up coffee lines behind it? Okay.
But those are parking spots on the front that are.
So there's never gonna be one, as far as you know.
Not now.
I don't want to go on record saying that. But no.
We can.
Yeah,
I mean, my personal opinion is any gas station, you gotta just watch when you pull in. I mean, if you pull in like a maniac, that's your fault,
Yeah.
right? That's my opinion. I owned a gas station for 20 years. I mean, you pull in, they were coming off of Route 9. It's like, slow down, buddy. If you hit somebody, you're at fault. I mean,
Yeah, coming at 40
It's not
miles an
like-
hour.
I mean,
Okay, next point.
okay, so I'll go to the outdoor seating area. The outdoor seating area at all our Nerea locations, and actually in the same exact spot, so we're not like overly modifying, but off our side entrance, which this building currently has, is we put an outdoor seating area. We actually put turf down to give it a nice warm feeling, outdoor feeling. And we felt that this spot in the property was a bit underutilized and could accept, without much lift, an outdoor seating area. This would be for 3 4-person tables, so 12 seats total. And what you're seeing around the defined area is we actually need to bring up the grade around this. So we are actually planning to, pending approval, we would install about a 1 foot 6 inch to 2 foot retaining wall around this area to bring the grade up, which would help address any safety concerns that we're physically putting a wall in. So if any traffic were to go by, the retaining wall will help protect that area. On top of that, we also have bollards along all front parking stalls, so there's further traffic protection there.
Is there a detail on the bollards?
We have a bollard detail on the plan, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you look at it, Chuck?
I don't remember looking at the bollards in this submission. I did have a comment that the traffic protection would need to be coordinated with the building commissioner.
Okay.
To ensure that it's going to be suitable for the seating area.
One of the comments that I've had, and I think I mentioned it to Brad Cherry as well, is that in the original application, there was, the parking requirements are not met on this site. So it was agreed that the stops here at the pumps would serve as sort of short term. You get the gas, you run in, you get a cup of coffee, and they were deficient in the amount of parking they had to begin with, but with the use of these spots at the pumps, it was going to be okay because there wasn't going to be any lingering. But now with outdoor seating, you're going to have people parked in these spots and lingering. And now these two EV charging spots are now sort of a, 20 to 30 minutes. Now the turnover of parking is becoming problematic. When you think about, people pulling in, waiting to get into a space, if this person's parked here and they run over here and sit down, have a cup of coffee, now you got some backup on the site. So that was a part of the conversation you had with the original site plan. So I just wanted to bring it to the attention because parking is an issue on this site, and whenever you create an element that encourages the folks to linger on site, then your parking doesn't turn over at a decent rate of speed for the amount of traffic that blows into this corner station.
Well, if I can add to that, one of my comments is that this point also needs to be coordinated with the building commissioner because currently the store itself has no interior seating for food service and that sort of thing. So is the building commissioner going to consider the outdoor seating for the building itself? So would you buy food in the building and then eat at the patio, similarly to the way you would do in a restaurant or what have you? And would that outdoor seating then count as the need for additional parking?
Do you know how many employees are going to be working here?
I wouldn't have a count off the top of my head, but I think to lead that and to help alleviate the outdoor seating area concern with the parking constraint, we would seek offsite parking for our employees elsewhere. So we'll keep all our spots for the customers.
Is the car wash automated or does somebody work that?
One person works at the front. There's a tenant.
Is that gonna be open all year too, or?
Yes.
Okay, next.
So the last item that I'm bringing in front of you tonight is the trash enclosures. They're Spectre required to be made out of CMU block or masonry block. And I'm requesting to see if we can change that material. Our spec is usually to do chain link fence with beige slats. And it's just one of our standards. Our trash enclosures get hit often and frequently, or get damaged frequently if it's not just through normal wear and tear from our own employees. The doors break, the trucks push the dumpsters too far into the back of the enclosure, and it's just we've seen this over and over again. The chain link is a much easier material to replace and fix quickly compared to a CMU block.
Well, that one makes sense. Okay.
They had submitted to me earlier today some photos of other options. There are 4 different photos. This one showing the slats. This one showing doors. So if you're inclined to grant the modification, you should be very specific as to the materials.
Okay. You don't have a specific material that you're proposing?
The material I'm proposing is chain link fence with beige slats all the way around, including the gates.
That picture that's up there?
Yes. Yep.
And
So it's as Chuck noted in his review, it's an aesthetic question. I mean, you all know the area, you know where this is located. This is commercial building back here. This part of the site backs up to almost on top of that building.
You mentioned that you were going to propose to have off-site parking for employees. It's a pretty busy area. Would you come back with a lease or something, or what is your proposal to document that?
I would say if you were to approve the outdoor seating, we could, I would, look for, or it would be okay to condition that I come back with a lease for off-site parking.
Okay. Any other questions? Chuck?
Mr. Chairman, one other thing I noticed with the revised site plan, there is an addition of some stormwater systems. So there's additional catch basins, an additional hydrodynamic separator, and the underground storage is slightly enlarged. So I don't have a problem with that. That's all fine. It just, everyone should just understand that the underground infiltration systems have already been installed, so those will have to be modified.
So there was a typo. The amount of chambers is actually accurate to what the plan shows. We made that change before the system even, I shouldn't say changed. The typo on the plan was not correct in the actual number of chambers. We do have 107 chambers installed on site. And the catch basins are really the only additions.
Okay.
So the system's built in based on this updated plan.
Okay.
So why did the catch basins change?
We added catch basins mainly around the car wash. We felt that after getting into construction, that we were encountering grade issues with the plans, not just with the plans in general, that we wanted to capture the water runoff better so that it wouldn't flow into areas that we did not want it to, especially around coming out of the car wash. So we added deep sump catch basins to really catch the water either on the entrance end or the exit end of the car wash. And one of those tied into an oil water or a hydrodynamic separator before it enters the stormwater management system. So we added some structures at our own cost to better capture the water.
Okay. Do you need to review the hydrodynamic separator? Or?
I looked at it. It's fine.
Okay. Okay. Where do we have to go with this, Ann?
At this point, there's no new information required to be added to the plan set, so you can move forward and close it and make a decision at your next meeting.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Oh, okay. So yeah, Chuck brings up a good point. If they're planning on moving forward with off-site employee parking, they would have to produce an agreement like you did at Day Street.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's what I just asked. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, if that's something, I think it's a good idea to have that. I don't think it's going to impact, unless you require it, you don't need to attach it to this. It's in their best interest to get that parking agreement. So it could be.
I mean, you're already
conditioned.
short on parking. You add, by changing those parking spots and making those EV chargers and then adding the outdoor seating, those people are going to sit there and go to the outdoor seating and stay there probably past when their charger's done. And it's you've already taken away from your transient parking that we're already short on. So
That's
I would
true.
think that would be a requirement if they're going to take away, if they've already taken away spots, and it just makes sense to me.
Then if you're inclined to do so, then they need to get an agreement with a property owner that is filed with the registry before you can close the hearing.
Well, can I just, I guess part of that is to make a request, and just, is there a way that we could at least break out the EV charger and the trash enclosure decision from the outdoor seating? I know they're all filed together, but if that's going to take.
Well, the outdoor seating and the EV things are intertwined, so I don't think so. That would be my personal indication.
Can I say something? So I drive a Tesla,
No way.
and when you go charge your car, if you stay there beyond its full charge, they charge you a lot of money to leave your car sitting
So
there.
that doesn't.
So it's motivation
Yeah.
for you to get your butt charged and get out. Just so you know, I don't know if you knew that. I don't hang out, but look at Macy's, they got them there and people are like, I'm like, oh,
These are also like one of the fastest chargers you can get on the market. So, and they'll get your electric vehicle to 80% in 10 minutes. And it's really that 80 to, I don't know if it ever gets fully to 100,
maybe I should go there.
that takes a long time. Yeah.
So those two electric spots, are those counted towards your overall parking spaces? Or those new ones you
They
added?
are, and we don't restrict it to EV cars only.
Okay, anybody can park there.
Yes.
So it's at the board's discretion what they want to do, if they want to see them. I mean, for me, the outdoor seating is the bigger concern in terms of turnover of those parking spots. So if you want them to move forward, if the board wants to consider the outdoor seating a possibility, then they should be getting in agreement with a abutting property owner.
And the reason why I asked about breaking it apart is the outdoor seating areas within the curb line. It's essentially landscape area right now. We have the time to go and try to get a lease with an abutter for offsite parking. Whereas the EV chargers, we're actively trying to get the site paved before the cold weather comes in, and we would like to get that area of the site buttoned up sooner than later.
The problem with having parking on a date and stuff is how do you enforce that? You say to
Exactly.
your employees, no, you're not going to park on site. You're going to have to walk from East Main Street Plaza over here. There's no way to enforce it.
Right.
Yeah, and on a cold day, nobody's doing that.
But if they're paying for it, they'll force it.
We would definitely be strict on that because there's still a few parking spaces here, and we definitely prioritize those for our customers.
But he's fortunate enough, like he says, he got the East Main Street Plaza, East Shoppers Plaza, which is right across the street for their employees. Yeah.
Oh, crossing that.
Yeah.
It's only chances the East Main Plaza or the Chinese place.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of places there.
They have a lot of spots in the back.
Yep.
It's, what's the board's desire to do here? Anybody?
I just feel the same way. It's so congested in there, and to lose the parking spots, it's,
Yeah, I'm inclined to leave
I think
leave
it's
the
not
public
safe.
meeting open until the next meeting and let them go find us parking. That would be my inclination, but it's up to the board.
You know, I like to put a condition in there, but I don't want to hold up their construction either, knowing that they probably,
Well, they can put the stuff on the ground, they'll just be
Yeah.
at risk for it. I mean, that's up to them.
I guess what would be the difference if we wait to the next meeting and I come back with the lease, or you condition this approval for a lease?
I don't know that we can conditional approval, can we?
I mean, you were considering it a day street. No, you can't condition that as an approval. It
I don't
has to
think
be,
so.
it has to be in hand, and it has to be filed
Right.
with the registry as proof that it's.
I think the board's inclined to allow you to do your EV chargers the way they are. I would think it's just a matter of the parking stuff. So if you, I mean, everybody builds stuff at risk. I mean,
Understood.
your company's more than capable of taking a little bit of risk to put some conduit in the ground. If it fails,
You'll
it
vote on
fails.
each component individually when the time comes, and if it turns out the outdoor seating, because we still need to talk to the building commissioner about how he's going to classify that outdoor seating as it relates to parking.
Mhm.
Then if you deny the outdoor seating, it doesn't mean he can't come back next spring and say, hey, we'll work something out now, and,
Right.
they could take another crack at it.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
what do you think? Anybody else? Questions, comments? I need a motion to either continue or to make a motion to approve what he's asking for.
so there's three different things here. Can we approve any one of the three for him? Or
You have to
stay?
close, you have to have a decision.
We'd have to
written.
close the public hearing. If we close the public hearing, then we can't hear the rest of the argument.
Okay.
It's just, it's a technical thing. It's just, which is stupid, but it is what it is. So, to answer your question, no, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Make a motion to continue the modification of 137 East Main Street till next meeting.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to continue this public hearing till next meeting. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, thank you.
It gives you a chance to get going. Like I
Yep.
said, I don't think it's a big deal. I really, but
Mr. Chairman, I could probably come prepared with a draft decision at that point. And you can.
Close the
Are you
meeting,
sure?
decision Same day.
Holidays.
I'm not sure if fatigue is going to set in.
all right, thank
All
you.
right, Thank you.
All right, next up, Mr. Sabatelli, who's been waiting patiently in the back. I don't know if he's waiting patiently. Not a very patient guy.
You probably learned a lot of fine things tonight, right, sir?
That turnaround at the end of the road.
What happens or it goes to the gas station and park in front of the diesel pumps and they go inside, so.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, the guy who's in the diesel always, they can't get to the pump, so.
There's only so many stations with diesel too.
All right, Matt, what do we
I'm
got?
just here looking to request that waiver for the length of Camille.
Okay, Ann, you want to just do a quick review of what we're,
This was the latest document that was submitted. This is the 2002 plan. To move that forward, let me think. You would have to have an actual plan in hand that shows,
Well, what I was, Paul, we did the site walk, we came up with a resolution as far as what the cul-de-sac will be, so it'll bring that into, the length of the road already exceeds what the approved dead-end street can be in town. So just to have something done, I can't make the road shorter, so I would think that that would be more of a, that just having the waiver for the length of the road would be kind of
okay, so you could probably take action to do the length of the road, but it still doesn't solve the issue of the design of the turnaround.
That's something that
Right.
will be done, that I'm gonna be starting to work on.
so just to update everybody, we met out in the field. The person that bought the lot from Mrs. Sharetti
Yeah,
has agreed in principle to allow the turnaround. They're going to give that property to the town to allow Matt to build the turnaround.
so I can build a turnaround, it brings the road into, compliance with the cul-de-sac.
Right.
He's gonna end up benefiting, because he's gonna end up getting frontage on.
Because
that
he'll have
cul-de-sac.
access now from
'Cause he'll have
Camille into
access
that
from
land, which he
Camille, so
doesn't have now.
It's mutually
So-
beneficial.
We went out there, we met with everyone, and it turned out to be beneficial. It kind of solves a couple of different problems. So they're working on that to move it forward.
Because remember, this was where I didn't have the space to put the cul-de-sac on what I still,
He still doesn't have the space, but the other guy's going to give it to him.
yeah.
So how much are you extending it?
It's gonna be, what did we?
The road doesn't extend at all.
It
The
doesn't-
only thing
that's
that extends is
road
the cul-de-sac.
ends.
Oh, okay.
So, because that was the whole thing where we built to the end of our property, and Mr. Sharetti was supposed to meet us on the other half to have a throughway, and it never happened. So now I was kind of left
It was
with
dead
an
end
impossible
road,
situation, but, Paul was able to kind of broker a solution, so
We'll see. Hopefully it works.
hopefully it works.
But as far as the
yeah, you can grant waiver, and you would have to have a formal decision that Matt was going to have to file at the registry because it's connected to the original decision. So I can have something typed up for your approval at the next meeting.
yeah, on the length of the road, yeah, that would be
Just on
great.
the length of the road, at least.
I mean,
it's
because
something.
at least he can start moving forward.
Right.
And there is movement at the other end of the road, by the way. Chuck's been out there doing some walkthroughs with trying to get the first part of Camille accepted.
Yeah.
Matt's working in the spring, hopefully he's going to get,
Once I get I'm gonna form out the cul-de-sac now. It's been, I've
Yeah.
been working.
everybody gets
In the
it.
Boston area, like
Yeah.
trying to get those jobs.
So he's
done,
going to get that worked up this winter, and then in the springtime, he's going to redo whatever sections of
We're gonna
Camille and
go through
and
all
catch
that.
basins he needs. So I think everything's finally moving in a positive direction for all the people on Camille. So I don't have a problem in you
Okay.
drafting a,
That's easy enough. The public hearing notice did also reference the turnaround, so that's still an active part of this public hearing. Do you want to when you're ready to come back with the final design, re-advertise that then, or do you want to leave this open to have that item addressed later? You know what I'm saying?
I would prefer to do whatever doesn't cost Mr. Sepatelli any more money. I don't know. I mean, it's dragging out forever,
I
so.
mean, it's kind of,
We really can't leave it open though, can we?
You can,
We can? Okay.
with the understanding that this is something that's moving forward, and
Yeah.
this is going to take a little time, so you can continue
So if it's
without-
okay with the board, we'll have a decision next time for the extension of the road, which is already existing, which we really don't have a choice on anyway.
that's the whole point. Like,
And we'll do
kinda
that part
like
and
this-
then leave the public hearing open. Hopefully, Mr. Sepatelli will be working with his engineer to get an actual plan showing what we're going to do. And we also have to get the other gentleman to sign off on giving that land to the town. So basically, he's going to give the land to the town. Matt's going to build the cul-de-sac. Everybody, then he gets access. So that's kind of the process, which is a little bit odd. But then he's not going to buy the land because it's going to end up with the town anyway.
Right.
So
Okay, so your motion would be to direct
Dra-
staff to draft a decision for the length of the roadway,
Mhm.
and then continue the hearing to whatever stretch of time you want for the design for the turnaround. And that
Right.
leaves it open for him to come back. I mean, you could do 6 months out.
I think it's going to be 6 months. So if we go 6 months, that'll give you plenty of time to
I
get
mean,
that done.
I'm hoping to have something at
Quicker the
least
better.
roughed in, and
Mhm.
at least it can be located, shown on a plan of what it will be,
Right.
and that can be, meets and bounds to be conveyed to the town, so.
Mhm.
Do you want to go to like March or something? Because you'll be in the middle of designing it and it's not too far out. It'd just be checking back in.
Yeah, by March.
Want to do March? Okay, because if
Yeah,
it's
till the end of March.
end of March, okay. So that would be your motion, direct staff to draft a decision for the length of the roadway, and then to continue the hearing to
True.
the March meeting.
March to come in and get an update about where we are with that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Does everybody understands what we're trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
I think we're all good.
And
All right.
Dan was the second, right?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I feel kind of special that I could close the place down with you guys.
There you go.
Thanks.
Thanks, Matt.
See you, Matt.
And happy holiday.
You
Happy
too.
holidays.
We're going to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, back to the beginning, draft, the meeting minutes. There were a couple of changes that Chuck made.
Chuck had some Scrivener's errors and formatting errors that are non-substantive.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes with the changes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Reorganize and CMRPC delegates.
So you need to vote your officers, and then you need to appoint delegates to CMRPC.
Okay. Any recommendations?
Do you want to do them individually, or do you want to do a slate?
Stay as is.
Hmm?
Stay as is.
That's completely up to the board.
Everybody will
I'll
stay
be
where they
here,
are.
I'll be here till I'll be here till Ann leaves. That's all I'm saying.
Until they haul you away, right?
Yeah, anyway. You good, Mike?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
All set.
Then we'll do a slate to leave everybody the way they are. Who's that?
Okay,
You're
so
good with
Caroline
that?
and Kathy would remain as CMRPC reps?
Are you okay with that?
Okay.
If you'll,
Go to a meeting with me?
So you need a
I
motion?
need a motion to leave the organization as is.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Who was the first? Who was the second?
Mike,
two.
Kathy?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Draft meeting schedule for 2025.
So that schedule, which is not right in front of me, last Monday of every month,
Okay,
Except for me.
except for May. Yes, that's right. May is always the wonky one because of town meeting and
Memorial Day.
holidays and,
Yeah,
okay.
good.
Do you need a vote on that?
Mhm.
Okay, then I need a motion to accept the proposed meeting dates for 2025.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That's it. Anything to add, Chuck?
No, but can I really add anything? Because right before we talked, and if it wasn't on the agenda, like, we couldn't talk about it.
yeah, you can't really.
Well, it's on the agenda.
Well, it's up to you all. I would not recommend
Okay.
that. Going forward, Chuck and I will put on bullet points on the agenda which items he wants to discuss.
You can just say any and all items, can't you?
Yeah, no, you really, if it's active projects, then there has to be some sort of public notification that it was being discussed.
Really?
How was the
Yeah.
town of Webster, town of Thompson, that issue?
No,
Can't talk about
I
that.
can't tell you about that.
They're meeting tonight,
I know.
so.
But if you would like that to be on the agenda for next month.
Yeah,
I
just
can
get an
add that.
update so
Yeah.
that people know what's going on.
Okay, and Mike had also made a
about the high
request on
school.
other updates, so I'll add
Development
those.
on the
Yeah.
Thompson line,
Which
yeah.
update?
High school update.
Oh,
And
Yeah, high school,
anything
for
Chuck
sure.
wants to add, okay?
Oh, yeah, and the high school too.
Yes, I noted that. We're
Okay.
going to do high school.
Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Microphone's off.